Although, and as you know, I am not charged with any offence in this country or any other. But, as we saw today, it is now impossible for people to move in an anonymous way, myself included. I will speak, if I can, to this protest, this financial protest, about our attacks on the banks and the banks' attacks on us.
Now to the police raid on the .com mansion. So much discussed for so many months, and now the footage of that morning has begun to emerge. It generally shows what was always said to have happened, but it sheds little light on why it happened. The FBI is charging .com with internet piracy on a massive scale. He and his lawyers, both here and in America, assert no helicopters were needed to arrest him, no crack police officers with semi-automatic weapons, and the FBI not too far in the background. As the legal battle continues over a high court finding that the search warrants used in the raid were invalid, the raid itself is coming under scrutiny in the High Court. The evidence you will hear off camera in this story is from an elite police officer we cannot identify. Those involved are protected for their own safety and future operations unrelated to this case. But this is how that morning unfolded.
All call signs, all call signs. This is
6:47 a.m, the 20th of January this year, and the raid is underway.
copy.
A helicopter carrying members of the elite Special Tactics Group flies into the Coatesville home of Kim.com.
Ground units from gates are open.
.com's pregnant wife, their 3 children, some guests, and somewhere in the region of a dozen staff are also there. All is quiet below. Within seconds, 4 armed members of the Special Tactics Group run to the main door. The helicopter immediately leaves.
And lifting.
The main justification for using it at all, that .com's security staff would have stopped police vehicles at the gates. But as the chopper flies out, the first ground forces are already arriving in that van, just seconds behind. And inside?
First of all, it wasn't unusual for me to hear helicopter noise because we were expecting guests to arrive, and it's usual that sometimes guests arrive early in the morning, especially if they come from the US and are being picked up by helicopter. So the noise from the helicopter wasn't really a surprise, but then I heard pinging of stones, of rocks to my bedroom window. My shields were down, so I couldn't see outside what was happening. And then shortly after, within a few seconds, I had a heavy banging on my door.
That's why Robert Smith's life is over. So when I say his life is over, I don't say I'm going to go kill him. But I'm going to ruin his life and look into his fucking kids.
Barrett Brown spent more than 4 years in prison in no small part because of this YouTube video, in which he appears to threaten an FBI agent. But how did it even get to this point? Remember the hacker group Anonymous? The guys who wear Guy Fawkes masks and release ominous videos threatening to take down government agencies, corporations, and religions like Scientology?
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive.
Well, Brown rose to semi-fame when the media characterized him, not entirely to his liking, as the spokesman for Anonymous. It would be his association with hackers that would later land him in federal prison. But Barrett Brown is actually not a hacker. He's more of a hybrid activist and investigative journalist. He first ran into trouble after he launched a crowdsourced research platform devoted to investigating the private intelligence sector. Think a privatized version of the NSA that counters perceived enemies of large corporations and governments. After a major email hack, Brown and his team uncovered and publicized a conspiracy amongst several of these private intelligence firms to, among other things, attack and discredit journalists. What exactly landed Brown in prison is a bit complicated, and we'll get to it later. But what's important to know for now is that Brown just got out in November and is already working as a journalist again, covering the city council for D Magazine in Dallas, Texas. But as is always the case with Barrett Brown, there might be more here than meets the eye.
I should explain to the House that the statutory process under the Extradition Act 2003 has long ended. Since I came into office, the sole issue on which I have been required to make a decision is whether Mr. McKinnon's extradition to the United States would breach his human rights. Mr. McKinnon is accused of serious crimes, but there is also no doubt that he is seriously ill. He has Asperger's syndrome and suffers from depressive illness. The legal question before me is now whether the extent of that illness is sufficient to preclude extradition. As the House would expect, I have very carefully considered the representations made on Mr. McKinnon's behalf, including from a number of clinicians. I have obtained my own medical advice from practitioners recommended to me by the Chief Medical Officer, and I have taken extensive legal advice. After careful consideration of all of the relevant material, I have concluded that Mr. McKinnon's extradition would give rise to such a high risk of him ending his life that a decision to extradite would be incompatible with Mr. McKinnon's human rights. I have therefore withdrawn the extradition order against Mr. McKinnon.
This document alleges that I am the notorious hacker activist known to the world as Commander X. I am Commander X.
To say Commander X, aka Christopher Doyen, has led a full life would be putting it mildly. From humble beginnings in rural Maine to homeless hacker, to the most public face of Hacktivist Collective Anonymous, then playing the role of fugitive, and most recently, political refugee. But after being granted political asylum in Mexico, seemingly living out the remainder of his days looked after and safe, a shocking new twist in his already storied life. Brazenly abducted from the country offering safe harbor, shipped back to the U.S. in what looks like an orchestrated binational sting, with armed men arriving at his compound and U.S. Embassy agents on hand.
NYT ain't got nothing for me. I roll it up to smoke a little weed. Don't talk about RBG, yeah. Oh, they lie. Just a lot of fake news, a lot of fake news, yeah. We know that everything you do is a lie, guys. Why are you such fucking liars? Don Lemon is a bitch and you all know it. Don Lemon is a best friends with Jussie Smollett. This guy's just to grab your heartstrings. They're hoax perpetrators. Oh yes, they're hoax perpetrators. Fake news, fake hate, crimes, and culture. Taking some bucks from Mitch. What a bitch with an Adam's apple. Hey, hey. They ain't got nothing but me. The NYT is bullshit. CNN, MSM, all of it. Motherfucker, are you so dumb that you will swallow it?
By cybersecurity expert and CEO of MGT Capital, John McAfee. John, always a pleasure. Good to have you with us tonight on this very important story. It's almost mind-boggling. It brings Big Brother to a new meaning, so to speak. Your thoughts on what you have heard reported so far and what you know about this breach?
Well, first of all, it's good to be back again. I'm always happy to be on RT. The whole thing is horrific. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Julian Assange for bringing this to the attention of the American public. You know, counter to what the CIA and FBI would like to do to Julian, I would like to give him a medal. But of all the things, and no one has talked about this yet, of all the things that trouble me most about this hack, is that the CIA has confirmed that they knew of zero-day exploits years in advance of the manufacturers of this software finding out. Zero-day exploits are faults within software that can allow hackers and malicious code to get in. So basically, by not fixing those faults, it puts the customers of Google, Apple, Microsoft, and many other American manufacturers, it puts them at risk. It puts the reputation of the manufacturer at risk, and it costs us all billions of dollars.
track them, Mr. T. Steps down.
Timmy, are you still on the computer?
I'm trying to make a video.
You are spending too much time in this room. Why don't you go outside and play?
I'm trying to fuck the government.
This place is a disaster.
No, this is serious. I'm anonymous.
No, you're not. You're Timmy.
No, listen, she knows all of what she thinks. She's an agent of the government.
Oh, you are just hilarious. You know what, sweetie? 10 more minutes on that video game, and then I want you to shut it right off.
No, Mom, I can't.
I'm serious.
I hate her so much. You are anonymous. We don't need you. Expect us.
Army. That's it. An electronic army. If I were us, I'd get on the internet, send out a major distress signal. Hackers of the world, unite. You sit at home and do like absolutely nothing and your name goes to like 17 computers a day. 1984, you're right, man, that's a typo. Orwell's here now, he's living large. We have no names, man, no names. We are nameless. Governments and corporations need people like you and me. We are samurai, the keyboard cowboys, and all those other people out there who have no idea what's going on are the cattle. Moo. I need your help. You need my help. Let me help you